Welcome to the Raw Spotlight podcast, where we feature inspiring leaders in the B2B space and share their unique stories. Let's get started with the show.
Today's spotlight is on a unique public sector case study, the city of Monrovia and its cutting-edge transportation program, Go Monrovia. This initiative integrated Lyft, Lime Bike Share, and Dollar services into one cohesive offering. Welcome to the Raw Spotlight, where we explore leadership, entrepreneurship, and digital marketing. I'm Emily Au, co-founder of Ready Outwork, joined by my business partner, Victor Huynh. In this series, we'll share insights on growing a business and organization, the evolution of digital marketing, and key strategies for success. So let's settle in and get ready for a behind-the-scene look at how thoughtful design and strategy help bring a public initiative to life. Before we start, I have a sponsor message. This episode is brought to you by Ready Outwork, a website-first digital marketing agency focused on long-term growth. Our proven 7-step website blueprint is the heart of everything that we do, designed to build high-performing, lead-generating websites. If you want to learn more and for a full breakdown, check out our episode on the 7-step blueprint and visit readyoutwork.com to learn more. And joining me today is my co-host and business partner, Victor Huynh. From our garage startup days to leading one of LA's top website and digital marketing agencies, Victor has been the forefront of transforming businesses through smart branding, web design, and digital strategies. Victor, good to have you back.
Hi, guys. Excited for today's episode?
Yeah, so let's dive in. I throughout the years, I've have a lot of businesses and friends ask me about this project. So I'm happy to kind of highlight it so everyone understand what Ready Outwork, how Ready Outwork helped Go Monrovia.
Sure. So we were contacted by the city through, I met some of the city folks like Tina Cherry, where they were kind of thinking about this idea, and they were having initial discussions about how they can, close the gap. We call it the first and last mile gap when it comes to transportation, meaning that Monrovia is right by the train line. But to get people to actually use it, sometimes is a challenge, right? Like, well, people can't walk to the train station. Right. It used to be called the Gold Line, right?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So, and this is a problem across a lot of public transportation industries, right? Within the industry, how do we get people to the train station? If we want to encourage people to not drive as much, there's the green efforts, and also there's the equity effort. Like, there are some people that just can't, they have to take the train or public transportation to get to places. And, Monrovia specific is what we call a suburb, right? So it's pretty spread out. So that is a challenge. How do we get people to use public transportation in a way where they're not stigmatized? That's the other thing, right? Like, if you grew up in LA, you would kind of know, oh, you have to take the bus. There's a stigma to it, like that you're a lower class, or and so how do we take away the stigma? How do we make it cool and hip to take public transportation? And the city, thankfully is very forward thinking. So we're like, hey, let's bring all the players to the table. We have Lime Bike, we have Lyft, we have our existing Dollar Ride that has, that serves a certain purpose, but then people aren't really using it to the maximum potential. How do we solve this problem together? Right?
Yeah. So what were the city's main goal in launching Go Monrovia beyond just introducing this new transportation options, Victor?
Well, it was kind of what I was describing, right? Where a couple of things was, destigmatize public transportation, make it equitable for everyone of every economic echelon, if you will, right? And encourage people, making it more convenient for people to use public transportation, right? So those were some of there were some more interesting byproducts. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And, but this was at the very beginning, right? Today, obviously, it looks a little bit different than when we started, but we were there at ground zero when it started. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we go about developing this brand identity and that would resonate with a wide and diverse community here?
Yeah. So we were involved in the branding, the name development. We wanted to keep it simple. And to the point, right? Go Monrovia. There's, no matter where you live in town or what your political values are or how much money you make, there's a sense of pride in the city here in Monrovia. So we wanted to make sure that Monrovia was part of the naming convention and, being direct go, right? So Go Monrovia. There's like a cheering aspect of pride, what we're talking about, like Go Monrovia. And then the other one is really about the double meaning of moving forward and moving. So there was a Go Monrovia involved in that. So there was some thought that went into the branding as well. It had to do with transportation. Yeah.
So we designed some key visual elements for the program, like logos, banners, and, station visuals. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I was thinking about that as we jumped into this episode, right? People know us as a web agency, digital marketing agency, but, Emily and myself are actually classically trained graphic designers out of Cal Poly Pomona. So we're type nerds, we're color nerds first before everything else, right? That's really our biggest differentiator, is the visual aspect of it. So, in cases where we get to flex our design muscles, we definitely are excited to do that, right? And so this is one of the ones where, before all this, like if you actually followed our story, before we started the digital side, we were actually print designers.
Right.
So logo design, print design, it's not really outside of our wheelhouse. It's actually probably our core strength. So it was a fun project for sure. We incorporated like vibrant colors, we incorporated things that would resonate, that would show energy. So there's the movement piece and the naming, there's the colors, and also there's some arrow elements within the logo itself too. If you actually, go to our website and look at the case study logo. So I thought it was a really well executed and very, very timeless design, right? It's still being used today. So yeah.
Yeah. And then in my intro earlier, I did mention that it was a cohesive program that partnered with Lime Bike and Lyft. And as we know, they have their branding, they have bright colors as well. So how do we, spotlight Go Monrovia when it's used alongside with those two brands as well?
Right. Yeah. The Lyft has their electric pink, and Lime Bike, obviously the lime color, right? And how do we kind of find a balance between incorporating all parties, right? And it's, today the program is very different, like I said, but the logo still works even without all the parties involved, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what was the strategy behind the station domination approach with, floor decals, transit visuals?
Yeah. So one of the players that we didn't mention up to this date was Metro themselves, right? Obviously this is a regional and not a metro-wide, initiative, but obviously we had to collaborate with them and in a partnership. So we developed something called station domination, meaning that there are wayfinders, right? And one creative way we kind of came up with was floor decals. So there are some high traffic. We found one of our partner vendors, Mike Fan. Shout out to Mike, but he helped us with the actual physical printing and deployment of the decals and banners. So when you got off the train station, immediately you saw vibrant signage and floor decals. It's a vinyl sticker that's weatherproof that was on the floor that told you exactly where to go to get picked up from your Lyft. We had the $1 Lyft rides, which were super, super popular. And then there were banners letting people know, like, hey, Go Monrovia. So go to our website and check it out, learn more about it. So there was a big awareness campaign, not just digitally, but, it kind of bridged the gap between on the ground and, in people's minds and then online as well.
Right, right. The Wayfinders you mentioned gave travelers an idea of, where to download the app, how to use the app, and where to, one, unlock a rideshare bike or get picked up by rideshare services.
Yeah, and it wasn't just at the station itself; it was throughout the cities, right. Where the Lime bikes were, the scooters, right, and also where people parked their bicycles, and then within certain public parking buildings, So there was a lot of visual brandings in the downtown area and all the areas where people would park and ride and transportation related. So it was very, very well covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of public feedback or reactions did we see after the campaign launched?
This is the exciting part, right? Because it was unheard of to get a program like this, and we had a budget. I think, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was obviously a lot more than $1 per dollar ride that the city was paying in terms of the budget. So they basically diverted some of the dollar ride budgets towards this, and to kind of bring down the cost to $1 rides within the city limit, and maybe a little bit outside of it too, from what I remember. There was a huge uptake in rides, and I think within months they ran out of budget because people were using it so much. They didn't anticipate so many people using it. One thing that those of you that are not local, we have a downtown called Old Town Monrovia, and there's a lot of bars there, and people were actually even using it to get to and from the bar. Right. Safely. I mean, it's a great way. It's $1 and you get to not endanger people, and you get to enjoy. Right. So that was one really fun way people found to use the $1 Lyft rides. Right. And, a lot of people were able to kind of get around. Right. It was a very, very equitable way to kind of use our public resources. The dollar ride had to kind of be adjusted, to accommodate for people that need accommodations like accessibility, like wheelchairs and ramps and things like that. Obviously, the lift cars are not equipped for that. So it was kind of that took a little bit of massaging to figure out, because obviously nothing's ever perfect, right? I was like, we kind of overlooked that piece, and how do we kind of adjust for that? Mm-hmm. But all in all, I think it was mostly positive. I think there was some little ruckus about the Lime bike, but that was not really the program's issue. That was really more of a Lime scooter issue, right? Anytime it's deployed, I think it's similar issues that they have when there's too much too fast, right?
Not knowing where to repark it, right? Or designate.
But based on the user adoption at the time, it was the most successful. I call it it's called microtransit launch programs in all of North America.
Right.
And we even got news coverage. There were articles written about it. It was a great partnership because the city, put Ready Artwork out there like, hey, this was a partnership with our community, and Ready Artwork was a big part of that. So we got a lot of recognition. And through this project, we actually started working, a few years later, we started working with Metro directly, which was, probably another case study. But it was from here that jump-started us into public transportation and really, sink our teeth into this whole area and getting a really good understanding of how that can be successful on a local level.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely touch on that as a case study. It's Metro Micro as the pilot program that we were involved in. But I have one final question for you, Victor.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to other cities or public agencies looking to launch similar initiatives?
I would say really have to understand your community, but adopt technology, right? Mm-hmm. One of the I think the biggest challenges is in public sector is that we underestimate our constituents, our residents, right? They are very tech savvy. Obviously there's a range of that, but as we move forward, now everyone has a smartphone, right? Even my mom uses a smartphone. She sends me like videos and on YouTube and everything, like, hey, you got to watch this, right? I would never in 100 years imagine my mom would be sending me YouTube shorts and YouTube videos from her smartphone. So really take a closer look at technology and how it can help your community, because there's a stereotype of public sector is that they're very slow moving and very old school. And the ones that have adopted them successfully are really, really, reaping the rewards of it. So I would say, don't be afraid of that. There's always a way. You just got to figure out how to get your people on board, and maybe look at case studies, maybe look at where people have success, and see if that's a safer option.
Yeah, and I think maybe chime in a little bit here. I think we're fortunate enough to work with a couple of organizations and agencies that are very forward thinking, and they've entrusted us to incorporate technology into their programs, which has been great because it gives really good insights on allowing them how to make better decisions for the programs.
Yeah, there's always a way. There's creativity, right? So a lot of times budgets are a concern. A lot of times what happens in public is that you have these lifelong agencies or consultants that have been in the consulting position for like decades, and they haven't really upskilled themselves or kept in tune with technology. And they're the only ones that know about the RFPs, or they're the only ones that are bidding on the RFPs. And what happens is you get more of the same, right? But if you kind of rethink about your budget and rethink about technology, or where we've seen a lot of success is some of these, I'm not talking trash about these people that have been in the industry for a long time. They genuinely care about it, right? But maybe it's more for them to look for subcontractors that are a little bit more forward thinking and convince the client, right? Because there's a trust issue there. So most of our projects are worked with these really wonderful partners that are forward thinking. It's not really just the agency themselves, but the main contractors that understand how to navigate some of these challenges, right, that we have directly in the public sector, and for them to kind of connect the technology partners together.
Right.
But when you don't have that, then you get what I was describing earlier, more of the same, right? Yeah. So how do we get everyone on board? Those consultants with the relationships and the know-how of navigating all the red tape within the public sector, the cities, the public organizations, and how to kind of push for more technology and more forward-thinking ways of how to bring more value to our constituents.
Okay, well, thank you, Victor, for sharing all of that. So that's a wrap today on today's episode of the Raw Spotlight. We hope the behind-the-scenes look at Go Monrovia gave you meaningful insights into public sector branding, community engagement, and the power of visual strategy in civic initiatives. If you found this episode valuable, please share and subscribe, or even leave us a review. Especially anyone working in a city planning or public communications. So Victor, if listeners want to connect with us or learn more, how do they do so?
Social media, we're active on everywhere. Me personally as well. My LinkedIn is all public, everything's set on public. You're going to connect with me. Just say you heard the podcast, you want to connect. For my Instagram, Facebook, I do post random things about my kids and family, as well as some of this stuff as well. So if you don't mind seeing some of that, you can always connect there, or just reach out on our website, readyartwork.com. I'll be more than happy to kind of connect.
Great. I'm Emily Au, and this is the Raw Spotlight. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Raw Spotlight podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.